Thank you for joining us, everyone, today. My name's Anna Brailsford. I'm the Commercial Director for Lynda.com. Lynda.com have recently joined forces with LinkedIn. I'm not sure how many people have heard about that acquisition. It's a pretty big acquisition. That was the fourth biggest acquisition in social media history. Lynda.com offer one of the most comprehensive and powerful video training libraries in the business, creative, and technology space. We are transforming customers like Telefonica in terms of their learning culture and what they're trying to achieve from learning. And we thought it would be useful for you to hear a little bit more from Azzy Dagani today. So Azzy, would you like to introduce yourself?
So morning everybody. My name is Azzy and I'm the Digital Learning Manager at Telefonica UK. Some of you know us as O2. So there was discussion of dogs and cats earlier on. We probably do both. And we're responsible for 7,500 learners in the UK, 15,000 in our extended enterprise. Just play with the mic a bit. Hopefully that's better. And hopefully our experiences will be relevant to you.
Fantastic. So can we just start off by understanding a bit more about what Telefonica actually do? Because a lot of people out there think it's just handsets.
So how many of you have an O2 handset? If you don't have an O2 handset, just raise your hands. It'll make me feel better. So O2 does handsets, absolutely, but a smaller group of you probably own Tesla cars. If you do that, then there's a SIM in every car. We provide the communications. If you have an electric car in general and you charge it, we do the communications there. If you use buses, which is more likely than owning a Tesla these days, you also wait at the bus stop. It'll tell you when the bus is coming. That's us again, through SIMs and communications. So machine to machine, digital communications. We're also going to be in your houses, not me personally, but the government is now pushing out smart meters, which means that the meters in your house will be connected and will not need to be manually read. That's also something that we are involved in. So the O2 brand is very, very much like an iceberg when only one tip of it is in your handset.
And innovation is hugely important to Telefonica, but what does it actually mean?
Well, I think there were, over the years, a number of articles talking about the fact that making voice calls is not going to be the revenue maker it once was, and that's exactly true. So for us, reinventing ourselves is absolutely critical. We know for a fact that there's a lot more money that goes on data than it does on calls. Services like Skype have completely replaced, or almost completely replaced, the voice calls that we make. WhatsApp have replaced SMS and so on. So to us, it's a lot about connectivity and alternatives. So rather than you going to Skype, we've created something that is called To-Go, which basically gives you an IP or an internet access to your voice calls and your SMS, even when you're abroad. So if you are on vacation, instead of having to call remotely, run the little app on Wi-Fi, and it's just like you're making a call from home. And those kind of things that we continually invent and improve are becoming our lifeblood very quickly.
And what about digital? What does digital really mean to you?
So we are digital in the sense that when you run a Google search, when you do send any information from your handset, which has a SIM in it, you're going through our infrastructure. To us, being digital is it. There's no other alternative.
And when you were introducing Lynda.com, what were your business drivers?
So Telefonica and Telefonica globally, with almost a 250,000 employees, has the tagline of be more digital. The objective of the company and the stated targets is to provide amazing digital experiences. And for us to be more digital and yet to have employees who are uncomfortable with email, who are uncomfortable with some of the digital of today, is a no-go. So we were looking for a very quick way where we could turn this around. We were looking for a quick way which would allow us to become digital without investing in every digit.
Okay. And how did Lynda.com help you to fulfill those drivers?
So part of what we did was looking at how we can use the online library across the business. So if you think about it, as I mentioned before, 7,500 employees have a very varying degree of needs. But we were looking to do two things. We were looking to achieve the strategic objectives of the company, but we were also looking to push it a level beyond. And what we were trying is to create an atmosphere of learning, a legitimization of learning, to say, you have your compliance stuff, and this is what you need to learn, but you also have all of the stuff that you can do if you want to, and that's the free stuff. So for example, today the Lynda library has 1,000 courses. Those include things which are business related. Are quite a lot of courses around things that are continually or completely irrelevant to what we do. Things about how to use your digital camera, things about how to be a better writer, and so on. What we wanted to do was give our people something that they felt comfortable with, they can use for anything they want, and that's exactly what we did, and we're now seeing the rewards for that change.
And what impact have you seen on employee engagement?
So, Lynda for Telefonica UK is something that is completely not mandated. As an employee, you get access to the platform. It's totally disconnected from any of your corporate users, so you can walk in, log into it at home, you can log into it at work, wherever you want, and you can use it for personal development, professional development. And up until now, 5,000 out of the 7,500 employees have registered and have actively started learning. We have delivered more than 4,000 hours of learning on the platform. Again, no whips were involved. We didn't force anybody. We didn't tell them that it's either this or you get an annual review, which is lower. We're not counting how many courses we did. And about 4,000 hours, which is roughly 45 minutes per employee, have been delivered. The one thing that's interesting to me is when we look at these courses, which were not forced on anybody, the number one course repeatedly is about customer service. And again, I cannot state how frequently we have to force our people to learn. In this environment, it just happened.
Tell me a bit more about customer service and some of the impacts it's having there.
So I will be very cautious of saying, of defining plausibility or causality in learning. I think we all have the challenge of, we did course A, it led to immediately a change in performance in B. But the matter of fact is that people are investing in themselves, they are investing in the way they work, they are investing in things which are relevant to their work without steerage. Again, without steerage. We did not tell them, you have to do this. This is what they're picking up. And we're seeing people who are doing Excel courses because it's part of their role. But we also have a discussion. And in some cases we have, there was a young lady who spoke about the fact that she was very interested in fashion. And she used the courses to understand how to take better fashion pictures and how to edit the pictures with Photoshop and so on. We're talking about investor in people. This is exactly the example. For us, this has been 100% an investment in people.
And what about cost efficiencies? Have you seen any impact on your cost efficiencies?
I think it goes both ways. I think when the licenses around the content itself work out at what they do, and I'm not going to mention numbers, I think that's irrelevant, the efficiencies come in two places. First of all, it's a very big library for not a lot of money when you calculate it per head, but that's not a big brainer. The other part in efficiencies is when you bring something that is available for people everywhere, so they can do it on the tablet, they can do it on the mobile, they can do it at home, they can do it at work, that's where the real efficiencies come in, because they're actually taking their own time to become more, to be more digital, to be better at what they do, and that's exactly the idea. For us, if I mentioned legitimization of learning before, the success was a lot better than expected.
And how important is it for your people to feel invested in? And what does that actually mean for you?
How important it is for our people to feel invested in? Well, most companies that do it, investor in people, love to have the badge, but I think if we want our employees to feel as if they are more than just people coming in, pulling the lever and getting on with a job that they leave at the end of the day, we need to be very clear with them that we do not own them. We are here to support them. I am here to support my team. My manager is here to support me, and so on. I am not teaching or I am not providing learning for the people who work for us to give a good user experience to our customers. What I'm here for is I'm here to make them passionate about the brand they work in. Because if they're passionate about the brand they work in, about the company they work in, then where they're selling, they're not actually selling, they're convincing you of their beliefs. They're convincing you of things that they are interested in and happy in then. And if they're not happy as whole people, it's not going to work.
And you have a special scheme at Telefonica, don't you, where people can actually contribute to their own learning?
We do work, we are working on a few offerings that will create whether it's user-generated content, where they create their own content, but also the personal development plan is a very important part of every employee. And we've now used Lynda as a basis for our annual review plans wherever people want it. So somebody could come to their manager and say, I've seen these 2 courses on Lynda, I want to do them, and as a follow-up, they have a discussion at the end of the year kind of thing.
And what's your vision for learning at Telefonica? What are you trying to really create here?
So for us, I think the version is about ownership. It's about people owning, people wanting to learn, people wanting to develop. I mentioned before, we have a Yammer group, so we use Yammer internally, and we have a Yammer group which talks about how people use Lynda for learning. One of the things that we see there is people who use it to prepare for interviews, because some of the courses talk about how to write your CV, how to go through an interview. We are also using it now when we have internal change. So through massive internal change in big departments, you would have people interviewing, in some cases for the roles that they're intended to, in some cases for other roles, and we actively recommend that they go through the courses. I think there's a joke going around on LinkedIn, which is, what if we invest in our people, train them, and they leave? What if we don't and they stay? I'm perfectly happy with them being invested and leaving. If all the people around are better, I'm happy with that. Absolutely happy with that.
And how is Lynda.com helping to support a vision for an ecosystem of learning?
So for us, the idea of the ecosystem is one where learning is coherent. So I go to a certain place to do something, but everything connects. So we're using Lynda.com as a content library. We have an LCMS which is helping us create content to a certain standard. We're now looking to introduce more tools by the end of the year which will look at user-generated content. Again, a big focus on video because we know that video learning is becoming very, very big. At the end of the day, we learn by doing, but we have to watch first, and we take it from there.
And what's been the main benefit for people in the L&D function?
I think for us, I was at a talk a while ago, and somebody in another function said, "Yeah, we've gone through the transformation in L&D, and people now talk to us." Okay, good for you. Happy to hear that. I have to say that since we've started offering that, there was a point, we've started deploying it in January of 2014, there was a point around the summer where people didn't just start talking to us, they started chasing us. And you would get these emails, I need to get access to Lynda, why didn't I get access to Lynda yet? Which is beautiful because we don't have a lot of learning, and if I say compliance, you know what I mean, where people actually chase you, I really want to be able to learn. They didn't say I want this course, they say I want to have access to it. We don't monitor what they do. There's a gazillion reports, but probably too lazy to look at them. We let them get on with it, and I think there are definitely benefits.
And what difference do you think choice and autonomy make to learning and your employees?
Wow, so I think that's a big question. I think that's something that we need to think of as a learning function anywhere we are, whether it's kids or adults. Ownership of anything makes it different, makes it better. For those of you who were at the keynote, we were talking of play versus work. Ownership is the first step towards play, because I have control of it. In play, we make our own rules. So we're immediately engaged because we have control. The moment we take learning and we say, you have control of it, there are a few bits that you need to do, it makes it a lot more interesting to them. And you know what? If we have an employee who is in customer service but she's learning about fashion, she's a lot more likely to learn about something else when we churn it out, because it's changing the atmosphere, and that's exactly it. And it's through this ownership that we're telling them it's okay to learn, and then get used to learning. And actually, you know what? Yeah, learning is okay. From, oh, learning, no, not at work.
And how much more likely or willing are your people to learn now of their own volition or their own accord?
I think it's very hard to give a numerical metric for that, how likely they are to learn. I think what we are seeing, and what I mentioned before, we have roughly 5,000 employees, about 4,000 delivered, 4,000 hours delivered. That's a successful metric in my opinion. And it's continual engagement, and I think that's good. The other thing that we're seeing is, because we're using Lynda to enrich face-to-face courses, so we will have a pre-learning on Lynda, and then the course itself, face-to-face, and then a post-learning which is made available. Again, they don't have to, but what happens is, because it gives them the ownership, because by the time they come to the face-to-face session, they already know what is going to be talked about, we're seeing a higher engagement with face-to-face sessions. Our leadership training department now swear by this and everything. I think every single face-to-face intervention they have has some component either before or after. And I think it cannot be stated just how important it is.
And how do you think it's assisting in terms of cultural change?
I think for me, the culture part that we're trying to change is their willingness to learn. And that is changing. That is changing. I'd love to be able to tell you, oh, you're 75% more likely to take a course when you churn it out. I'll be uncomfortable giving you metrics around that.
And what about the difference between a people agenda at Telefonica as opposed to an L&D agenda?
I think our traditional learning agenda, and you'll probably see around here, is so what's your return on investment? You put £5 into that training, what are you getting back? And I have a problem with that. I think we're treating, in general, human resources. Yeah, I've got my metal, I've got my wood, I've got my people, all of my resources. And I think in that context, we're treating people like they are just another resource. I own you, I own the metal, I own the wood. If we look at them as complete people, then they will look at us not as their workplace, but as their home. And that's, again, exactly what we want to achieve. For me, an investment in people is to invest in the whole person. If they choose to go home and do a session on guitar or on how to code with kids, works for you. You're a better person. You're a more complete person, happily.
And what are your future plans for Lynda.com at Telefonica?
So because it's been so successful with our first line of employees, we've now expanded. We're going to give access to more people around it. We are expanding it to our franchisees. We're also going to expand it to different languages because the offering is not just in English. And I think for us, the plans are to continually put it out there and to connect it to other things, to enable constructivist learning so they can build on what they've learned in Lynda. But we're looking for the people to make the changes. We're looking for the people to come to us and we say, oh, we really would like a course on this, on that. And as you know, we feed it back and say, our people are very interested in a course on X, which you still don't have. And I think, again, that's a reversal of roles, because usually we would say, this is the course you're getting, and tomorrow that's the course you're getting. What they're doing now is, once they have access, they're saying, we would like this and this and this and this. And again, that's wonderful. We have a young group of people that we call the talentees, interns, apprenticeships, and so on. Some of them come in, they spend a year with us, and then go back to university. And once every few months, basically once a year, we have like also almost a fair or a market that we have in our main offices, which is called the People Day, where HR has an opportunity to present to the people what we make available for them. And we were there. One of the things we were presenting was the Lynda Library, and one of the young people came up to us and she mentioned, I'm leaving in 6 weeks and I'm going back to university. is there any chance that we can extend the license, or we can get some sort of discount? Yeah, absolutely. And what we did is, as part of that, and as a continual investment in these young people who are then going back to the work environment, said, right, you know what? Have the license. For as long as you're in uni, we're going to back you up. I don't remember in my previous years, and I've been doing this for a while, people coming up and say, I like this so much, when I'm leaving the company, I want to continue doing it. That's an achievement in itself for learning and development.
Thank you, Azzy.
Thank you.
Has anyone got any questions?
Is the offering something that's been tailored to your company's requirements, or is it access to the pool, as it were, what's out there for the public?
So the question was whether the offering was tailored or it's the same thing as offered across. So there was, some people who know me know that I nearly killed the project in its second week when I mentioned to our head of business that if people want, they can learn to play a guitar. And he looked at me, and you should have mentioned the guitar. The guy I was with should have mentioned the guitar. Okay. There was initially a request by some business people to tailor it and to make sure it's focused on work. We pushed that back and said absolutely not. So the Lynda library, as it's offered to the Telefonica employees in the UK, is the complete library. We have not taken anything off, including the lessons about the guitar.
One thing I would say, what we do, for example, in business reviews and things like that, and we're setting clients up, is that we create playlists for clients, which can be mapped against things like competencies, or, for example, your graduate induction process, and we can push learners down tracks of learning, which you can control, and you can create those learning paths as they go. So you have basically access to both. You have self-discovery, but you also have the option of tailored learning paths, which can be created by us in line with what you need. Any other questions?
Sorry.
So what was the main measure of success, and how do you continue to track it?
So the question was, what is the main measure of success and how we continue to track it? I have to say that being chased down the corridors, not literally, just to clarify, is a measure of success in its own right. We don't track individual usage, but we do know how much the library is used. We can track individual usage, we just don't want to. For us, the measures of success is, A, is it being used? Because let's face it, if it wouldn't be used, we wouldn't renew. It's as simple as that. And this isn't even about us dictating. It's not a compliance tool. If people don't use it, move on. So usage is definitely an element. The other component for us is the level of partnership. So when we're now looking to roll out Office 365 later this year, there's a lot of material that we now don't need to create because it's already there. There are specific roles that we created, playlists that Anna just mentioned. Again, this is work that we do not need to do. We know what the quality is. We know we don't need to look for suppliers. All we need to do is work with these pieces of Lego. And for me, personally, usage, just usage. That's it.
Any more questions?
Okay, that's going to be a tough one.
I'll go. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, hearing is not what it used to be.
Oh, yeah, that would help.
Ah, now they tell us there's a microphone.
Hi. How supportive are line managers of employees using Lynda videos during work time?
Interesting. So when I proposed the initial plan of saying we're going to bring in Lynda, and it's just a software thing, so we're going to turn it on, and in 2 weeks it'll be available to everybody. A year later, as we finish rolling it out, I think one of the things that I can say is that it's very important to work with the individual line managers. Rather than working directly with them, we worked with champions in every area, in every department, or whatever it is. We custom built the messages, the communications, how we presented it, and we rolled it out. I can very easily show you that there is a high level of engagement, registration, and usage in areas where we did a good job, and in areas where the manager said, oh yeah, just roll it out to everybody, don't worry, they'll be fine with it, the levels are a lot lower. We're now working with managers of larger teams to allow them to create or see reports of their own people. So in my team, I have 50 people. I can see what they're interested in, what they're doing, and so on. One of the things that we discovered, which I don't know if it was a surprise, but if you know O2, then we have our gurus in the stores. Those are the guys who, on average, are more digital, know more about your phones. A large percentage of that population was very interested in some of the courses around developing apps for Android, for iPhone. Now again, this is not a metric, they don't get higher pays for it, they don't get anything from us for doing it. What it means is that they have a better understanding of the platform that customers will come in and ask questions about. It's through the managers that the success was driven, and only through the line managers. And the line managers today see it as a tool for personal and professional development. Absolutely.
Anyone else? No? Guys, we're on stand number 14, and I think Azzy might stay around for a couple more questions if I can commandeer you for a little bit longer.
I'm more comfortable without this. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.